What is up, guys? So Sports backing up with a video. And in today's video we have the what's next for the New Orleans Pelicans. I can finally talk about this topic since the 80 trade has went down. But let's get into it. So I don't really want to talk about the trade as I talked about in my previous video. I did talk about what's next slightly for both teams, but this is more in depth for the New Orleans Pelicans. But if you do want to check out what I talked about in the trade, you can go look at my previous video. But I mean, let's get into it. So, I think the Pelicans got an amazing haul. Just wanted to say that though. The plethora of players they got back with high potential is great. But I mean, as I said before, I already talked about it previously. So let's just get into the key players. Let's just get right into it. Key players for the Pelicans. Obviously, the guys they got in the trade: Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart. Lonzo Ball. I feel like Lonzo Ball is going to be a great player in the NBA. You know, maybe people would like to disagree on me with that, but I feel like his potential is still sky high. His opportunities in the NBA, I don't think he had, maybe as fair of a start as many others would have. I mean, talk about getting drafted. His father was, in the spotlight a lot. That's why people had so much attention on him, because his father would come out and say these crazy things about him, talking to him, saying like he's better than MJ. He can carry a team to a championship. If you pass on my son, you won't win a championship. Stuff like that. So obviously people would, look more into him to see, if he was, abiding by those things. And he wasn't, because I believe he takes time to grow. That's what I believe Lonzo is. He needs some time to grow. He has great upside and he has great potential. And his father made it a fair for him from the get-go. But moving on to other things, he's been injured. He missed plenty of games in his first 2 seasons. I do think the cause of that was his shoes. I mean, if you look at it, he had low ankle sprains. I mean, the shoes he's wearing more than likely played a role in that. But because of the falling out he had with him and Alan Foster, he is moving on from BBB and looks like he will be wearing Nike. So, I mean, hopefully, he can get past that. But I don't want to say it, but I do see Jason Kidd in him. That's literally what I see. Like an elite playmaker, not so much a scorer. I mean, him and Jason Kidd have a lot of similarities. They're both have great size. I don't think Jason Kidd 6'6" also. I don't believe Jason Kidd was 6'6", but he was pretty tall for a point guard. Great defense. I think Lonzo, at this point in his career, Lonzo's defense is probably better than Jason Kidd's. I mean, both were drafted number 2. It's both were number 2. It's crazy the similarities they have. But I mean, I think Lonzo, again, he will be great. I don't know if he will probably never be like a 20-point per game scorer, maybe not even a 15-point per game scorer. But if he can give you like 13 or 14 and like 10 to 11 ish with 2.5 steals, maybe not 2.5, but 2 steals, that's great. I mean, he has time to grow. He's going into his 3rd season now, and hopefully he will be out of the spotlight. But then again, maybe people are going to be eyeing this trade closely to see, what is happening. So I don't know. But I think he'll have a great bounce back season. And I think he'll have great success, especially in an offense like the Pelicans, where I think it's probably his best opportunity to succeed with the pick and roll that you're going to be able to do with Zion Williamson, who I'll talk about later in the video. And, guys like Drew Holiday and Brandon Ingram who can take the load off of him. But let's move on to him. Brandon Ingram. I think Brandon Ingram's a great scorer. I don't know. That's really it for me. I don't know. He can be a great scorer. The comparisons he got when he first came into the league were far-fetched, I thought. I mean, comparing him to KD, come on now. Come on. KD's in a world of his own. But I think he'll be a great scorer for this team. He can take the load off of Drew Holiday, but I still believe Drew Holiday will be the number 1 scoring option for this team. And I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not a hater. I don't want to hate on Brandon Ingram. I just don't think he'll ever. I don't know. Like, I see him being at most a 25-point per game scorer. I know that's amazing, but I don't know. That's what I just see him being, a great scorer. His defense hopefully can continue to improve. I mean, he is 6'9", 6'10" possibly. His problem is, of course, he's very lanky. That can be a problem. Getting posted up. People that are bigger than him can abuse him in the paint and stuff. So maybe that could be a problem. I mean, I don't know. And then last I want to talk about is Josh Hart. Josh Hart, I think, will be a great role player for this team, a great 3-and-D guy. He has good size. I believe he's 6'5", shooting guard. He's scrappy. He's gritty. And yeah. But moving on now to the draft. So obviously they're going to be taking Zion Williamson without a doubt, number one. It's already set in stone, basically. I mean, yeah, Zion is Zion. You know, whatever people say about him, I think it's true. He's going to be a multi-time All-Star, multi-time All-NBA guy. It's going to be fantastic. But moving back to the key players also, I do want to touch on some other guys, you know, that I didn't touch about earlier and in the last video. The Pelicans have some great big men, you know, that they can look to include in the offense, include in the rebuild, I guess you could say. They have Jahlil Okafor, who was drafted third from the Sixers. His problem was he was a modern-day center. He couldn't shoot. He cannot shoot still. But I think he had a resurgence, so to say, with the New Orleans Pelicans. And I think he's going to be in this team, for years to come. I mean, good pick and roll guy, great post up guy, and I mean he's still young, so you know he has time to improve also. And then Sheik Diallo, I believe was undrafted, but I mean he played some good minutes while AD was out because of, you know, he requested a trade. They didn't want to play him. He had some good games, great games. I think he'd be a great player for them. Also Christian Wood, when the Bucks released him, I wouldn't say I was furious about it, but I didn't like the move at all. I mean, talk about what Christian Wood did in G League. I believe he averaged around 30 and 13, something crazy. I believe he was the G League MVP too. He also had some good games for the Pelicans. But I mean, the Pelicans have, like I said earlier, a plethora of great young guys to build around and jumpstart their rebuild, I guess you could say. I don't even want to call it a rebuild really, because I mean they've already rebuilt. You know, when you trade your star player, that starts the rebuild. And I mean the haul they got back for it, I don't think it's a rebuild. I think it's just a retool, so to say. But moving on now, touch base again on the draft. As I said earlier, they're definitely going to take Zion number one. But now the interesting part is what they do with the number 4 pick. I mean, they have so many options. You know, if they want to win now and still have pieces to win in the future, they could potentially trade that number 4 pick to get an all-star player, a young star possibly. There have been some talks that maybe the Bulls would look to trade Zach LaVine for it potentially. For both parties, I don't know. This fit with the Pelicans. I mean, I guess you could put Drew at the 1 and then Zach LaVine at the 2, but then again, that probably hampers Lonzo Ball, but maybe Lonzo Ball will be included. Maybe it'd be Lonzo Ball in the 4th pick for Zach LaVine and the 8th pick from the Bulls. That's something potentially the Bulls could look to do. But if it's a trade like that for both parties, I don't think the Bulls would do that. I don't know why the Bulls would ever do that. I mean, you have Zach LaVine, who's already a proven scorer, and then I don't know, that would just set back your rebuild. I don't think that trade would happen. But looking at a second trade that's, you know, been talked about a lot was potentially maybe like Lonzo Ball in the 4th for Bradley Beal. Now that trade, if I'm the Pelicans, do I do that? Potentially, I do like that trade a lot. That's if you're trying to win now. You know, if you're not content with, you know, possibly being a borderline playoff team, or, you know, being just out of the playoffs for years to come, maybe that's something that you look to do. Again, looking at it from both standpoints, if I'm the Pelicans, I probably don't do it. I don't know. I just have a great feeling about Lonzo. I think Lonzo will turn out to be something great. And then for the Wizards, obviously, if the Wizards, you do that, I mean, it just jumpstarts your rebuild, which 100% you need to do, because nothing more you can do except for trade Bradley Beal. I mean, looking at the rest of the roster, I mean, they have great guys like Bobby Portis and Thomas Bryant, to help with the rebuild, but those aren't keystone. Those are not key pieces in the rebuild. And then John Wall's contract is without a doubt the worst contract in the NBA right now. It's no way you can trade that contract unless you're attaching picks, as like the Lakers were doing, attaching picks for the next 7 years potentially. So yeah, but all in all, if I'm the Pelicans, I definitely keep the pick. You know, keep the pick, get yourself a nice player at 4 to groom and to use in your potential retool / rebuild. I don't know what you want to call it, but I mean, just look at some guys they could target potentially. Darius Garland, you know, a great point guard, great score first guy. who can play make and do lots of things on the offensive side. DeAndre Hunter, and have an amazing young defense of Lonzo Ball, DeAndre Hunter, and Zion Williamson. And then you still have Drew Holiday if you want to have that defense for now and for the future. Maybe even draft a guy like Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish has insane potential. Hopefully he can, reach that potential. And I don't know, you can use that to, you can, draft Cam Reddish and then sit him or play him. He doesn't have to come in and be something right away because you already have guys over him like Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. So he can come in, do his thing for a couple years and then explode and then, grow and grow and grow to potentially turn into that Paul George that he's being compared to. Or you can go another safe pick. I would say Jared Culver. Personally, like I said in the previous video, I pray they do not take him because I do want the Cavs to draft him. But he has Jimmy Butler type, intangibles. Jimmy Butler like, he has a Jimmy Butler like playstyle. A shooting guard, a 3-and-D guy, good playmaker, solid playmaker. Or one last thing I didn't talk about in the trades section, potentially trading back with the Hawks, getting maybe the 8th pick, the 17th pick, and the future Nets pick, or 8th and 10th, something like that. I don't know. They have so many options to do with the 4th pick. It's amazing. The Pelicans are 100% in a great spot. But now, lastly, I just want to slightly touch on free agency because the problem right now, I would say, is that they don't have a starting center. I think Jahlil Okafor would definitely come off the bench. But there's really only one guy that I kind of want them to target at center, and that's Brook Lopez. I mean, talk about Brook Lopez pairing him upside with Zion Williamson would be great. I mean, Brook Lopez would help you space the floor out, which I do think they need is shooting, actually. So before I say that's the only thing they need, they definitely do need shooters. I think they freed up around 18 million cap. So if you can sign yourself like Brook Lopez and then go out and get yourself like a Terrence Ross, to help fill out the roster, or go out and sign maybe a backup point guard like Darren Collison, a vet who can help Lonzo and, sort of mentor him to, be better, or sign a gritty defender like Patrick Beverley, or potentially try to bring back someone like Nikola Mirotic. Again, the Pelicans are in such an amazing position right now. They have tons and tons and tons of options. If I'm a Pelicans fan, I'll be ecstatic right now. I'm so ecstatic. I mean, their future is so bright. I do believe that this trade is, I think they got the better part of the trade. Just saying, they're playing for the future. Now that the Warriors dynasty is potentially over, LeBron James is 35. He doesn't have many years left. I think they're next in line with teams such as the Mavericks and the Nuggets and some other young teams. Wow, those are only three teams, that came to my mind. I'm trying to think of other teams that they're in line with. Well, I mean, you guys get the gist. You guys, know what I'm talking about. They're next in line to compete for a championship, and it's great. Talking about it too. I mean, the Saints, they have an amazing football team. I am a Saints fan, but I don't really want to touch on football. I've been strictly a basketball team. But let me know that. Should I start talking about the NFL more? I mean, I'm a big NFL head too. I know a lot about the NFL, so maybe I could, dabble myself into that type of genre, not just stick to basketball, explore different options. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I mean, as I said, the Pelicans have so many options, so many things they can do. And I think if their future is super bright. If I had to say, do I dare say that they have the best future out of the 3 teams that I previously stated, with the Nuggets and the Mavericks, potentially? Oh, another team is the Kings, too. Have a bright future. The Suns, potentially. Teams are just coming to mind. But yeah, this video is pretty long. I'm gonna end it here, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy, though. Yeah, I mean, this has been the What's Next for the Pelicans. As I said many times, their future is so bright. Just thinking about it, they will probably be must-see TV this coming year. I mean, bro, the Lonzo Ball and Zion Williamson pick and roll, Lonzo Ball potentially Brook Lopez pick and pop. I mean, it'll be amazing. It'll be so amazing this next year, and for plenty of years to come. But that's gonna do it for me, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. Please like and sub and share with your friends. And it's So Sports, and I'm out. Peace.